Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we design, craft the learning experience. So, this is a session one. We are starting a new series where we will learn about our learners creating an impactful learning course, right? So, this is our presentation, and we are starting with the same. So, the title is Where Do We Start? As instructional designer, we know that we are making the instructional content for our learners. That is why it is important to we understand the learner needs, and by identifying their performance gap or whatever, we analyze that, and depending on that, to fulfill the gap, we make the content. So this is all about we are going to study. Let me share a full screen from current slide. Okay, so the title is the where do we start, right? The session name is identifying and bridging the learning gap. We have to identify the gap, identifying and bridge the gap. How to fulfill that gap? Here, from gap, I mean is that we might be creating a training e-learning content for a specific company. The company employees might be facing some performance issue, drop in sales call, customer complaint increase. So many kind of problem or performance issues can have, but the reason can be different. That is why we analyze this with training need analysis. But this topic is not about only the training need analysis. We will know what the gaps are. So there are various type of gaps. So let's start the session. I have given you the brief. So this is basically from the chapter 1 of design for how people learn. Julie Dirksen. So she is renowned instructional. She is renowned in the instructional and learning psychology field. That is why, and the book is also famous. So you don't need to study the book. I will explain everything, and we will keep the session engaging and as well as interactive. So, what will be the learning objective? We will understand, distinguish between the knowledge, skill, motivation, environment, and communication gaps. The gaps can be different type, or these are the gaps we will be covering today, and apply the diagnostic framework to identify the real gap. We will identify what is the real gap and what is the performance issue, and when we will also understand sometime it is not about the training. We can't solve the learner issue or identify and fulfill the gap because only by the training is not a solution at all. So in some cases we will explain about that those cases, and design gap appropriate learning. We know identify the gap, and we know that training is the solution. So how to align our content to fulfill that gap, we will be covered today. Let's start. So before starting, I would like to you say that whenever you are creating a training, let's say if some I'm asking that if someone attend management training class, so they will become a good manager or not. Another question is that if you teach someone smoking is bad, they will quit smoking or not. So my purpose of this slide is simple, that just providing a knowledge, just providing a information won't help in learning, won't help in real performance, real act. Okay, if I say this is a bad habit, you should not do. I have given the information. If you consume too much smoking, your lungs can be fail, you can die, even die. I have given the information, required knowledge, but using that knowledge, is it possible that 100% he or she, whatever the learner is, will quit smoking? No, not at all. So if you teach the right way, I am teaching you the right way. So it is possible that you will apply the same learning principle every time you probably learn the what I want to teach. No, it is not about information. Let's say I'm creating a training course about the web design, how to web design 1 hour session. So after the session, it is guaranteed they will learn. So what is my purpose is that none of these are fully true. We have seen the examples here. Simple meaning is knowing is not equal to doing. Just information is not learning. That's the core essence you should take from this slide. Now, uh, let's say we have to train our sales representative. Imagine the scenario: sales representative now doing like this is a salesperson, sales team. Earlier they were going to 80% sales conversion rate. Now it is dropped to 60%. So this is a 20% is the gap. So this 20% is gap. So where the learner is right now? Right now it is doing the 60%. Okay, we want to reach at 90%. And conversion rate 60% is the starting point, and we want to achieve up to the 90%, right? So this called the gap. So this can be due to multiple of skills gap. It either it can be knowledge gap. The sales representative are not aware about the product information. They are not able to communicate well to the client. That is why this happens. Now second can be skills, like they don't have actually the communication skills, right? And third is motivation. It can be about environment, it can be about communication. So the these are the gaps 20% can have. So we have to fill the gap. If you want to make learn, why we are making the training courses, why the learning and development thing exists, just because we want a specific from start. We want a learner or trainees to reach from starting point to the success point. That is all. The end of the journey isn't just knowing more, it is doing more. So basic crux is it is not about always about information. They should able to perform. If you are teaching something, they should able to do on the job as well. Let us study about the knowledge gap. So information is the equipment learner need, but equipment alone isn't enough. So knowledge is just a equipment, but with that equipment, can we only with equipment we can't do the required act. Let's say I have to settle a tent. I have to make a tent house. I have the material. I have the knowledge. This is called a tent, and these are the steps. I have consumed the knowledge. I have studied the book. But is that mean I am 100%? I will be making a good tent for me? No, it is not. So that this is about the knowledge gap. If if the training is about only about the knowledge gap, if someone is doing great at work but still has it still have a performance issue, and if the reason is just because of product knowledge, so as instructional designer our job is very much easy, because we just need to share the information, which is pretty simple, right? If you found that your learners has the knowledge gap, you can easily like your work becomes easy. So the key points are from this slide is information alone is not equal to performance. If the information is missing, then creating a training content and the training will be effective is easy. Focus on initial training on critical knowledge. So we have just make a training content, right? Or we have to remove the non-critical information. We just need to give those which is required to fulfill the knowledge gap, and that's it. It is good if we just if the learner have only the knowledge issue. Ask if the learner just had the right information, could they perform? If yes, provide information. If no, dig deeper. If you know that if as instructional designer we know that we should ask a question, like we should fit ourselves in the shoe of learner, and then we should ask certain question, like if the learner just had the right information, could they perform? If yes, provide the information, else dig deeper. Let's move to the second gap. Second may be skill gap. Okay, so it is. So what is a skill? I would say like saving a word file, filling out a timesheet, looking up a phone number. These are not the skill because we can provide the information just, and with that information they can do the task. So this is a information. What is a skill actually? Project management is a kind of a skill. Coaching employee, like I am training to you, I'm providing the lecture. So this is kind of a skill. And database design, instructional design, these all are the skill. Riding a cycle is a skill, but saving a word file is not a skill. So you should know the what we call a skill. If if the gap is skill, your learners need practice. So what is the solution? If if someone if someone regular work is with the excel VLOOKUP, and he or she is not able to perform the task as well, what is the solution? Make them practice. We can keep a session, we can provide e-learning module with 10 practice seat. They will practice, right? So that is a solution. So we have covered skill knowledge gap, we have covered the skill gap. Let's move to the third slide. Now this is a motivation gap. See, let's take an example. Someone was performing, or a group of team was performing. They were the sales representative. They were calling the client, outreaching and making the hundred of sales per month. But now they are only making the 70%. So why this happened? Like 30% is gap. Earlier they were 100%, like 100% selling all the products, all the fulfilling all the target. Now it is dropped to 70%, and that is 30%. So that 30% can be about the motivation gap we will cover. So motivation gap is that. So with the so when we done the training need analysis, the team found that the 30% gap is due to a motivation because they haven't received their appraisal since last 3 months. It's a delayed 3 months. So employee don't have any motivation to work further, and no ambition, no enjoyment and all. So in this case, making a training material, providing them a training won't help because the gap is not about training at all. It is about the motivation. It should about their appraisal. If you provide the appraisal, earlier they were working star, they will soon again start 100%. So that is a motivation gap. If you found that this is a motivation gap, we should not look up on the training aspect. We should look about the internal things. We should focus on the training need analysis. Like what is the core issue? Is that motivation, knowledge, skill doesn't buy in. Learner don't see value in the outcome. Like why I will make 100% target if I'm getting the same salary? I will not perform. So anxiety, concern about change, or fear of failure. Like in IT department right now, there is a way much buzz around the artificial intelligence doing coding by AI tools. So now people are scared a bit, like they are thinking finding out how the career will go further. So they are anxious, in anxiety. Okay, that can be a reason they are not performing. They are trying to switch to a certain another role. So that can be the motivation gap. Third is no big picture, lacks context to guide their own success. Disengaged, they are not engaged in the work. They are not liking. They may be distracted. Design influence. So these all are the motivation gap time. Let's move to the next part. Now, one more important fact within the motivation gap is that the changing factor. When new learning requires unlearning, why change is hard? Like we know that mm, training, fulfilling the gap is about the change. Like learner has to, we have to put an effort, create a training material or whatever that makes a change. Like if I have a habit, I'm smoking, let's say I'm smoking since 20 years. And I want to change that thing, right? So this is in my habits, this is habitual, so that is the tough. So that is why here we know that old habits become automated in the brain. Existing proficiency create momentum. Unlearning requires conscious effort. Old pattern block new ones. So because it is habitual, it is fixed in our mind, so we will, it is very hard to make any change. Okay, so unlearn something. There is a term, learning and unlearning. Learning refers to learning a new thing, acquiring some knowledge, skill, that is called learning. And if you want to drop some habits, drop something we have learned, like we have learned how to smoking, and we want to drop that habit, so that will call unlearning. Change is a process, not an event. It takes time. A single explanation will never be enough. If you are teaching about something, like we want to improve the performance of a learner, and that gap is like is motivation gap, like habit kind of thing. So that will take time. Only one session won't change that. If you don't know about how to communicate in Hindi language, you are foreigner, just providing you a lecture won't make any sense. Or now can be a environmental gap. Even prepared motivated learners fail when the path itself block them. Taking the same example of the company, like performance can be dropped with the environmental gap. Now, then another CEO has come, and he's making many changes. He shifted the teams, divided the team. So that is an environmental change, organizational structural change. So they and now the current environment is too distracted. People talks a lot, people don't work much, so that can be environmental gap. So how to fulfill that? So environmental gap can be the process, related to process changes. So does the workflow support new behavior? You should ask. Resources, it can be about resources. uh, the company is not upgrading their system, that can be a reason of the environmental gaps. Do they have the tool, material and technology? And another point is job aids. Are reference and support material available on the job? Like if you have introduced new feature, we should provide a job aid. Incentive. Are people rewarded for making the change? Reinforcement. Is the change being supported over time? Training. Training cannot compensate for a broken environment. If the even the environment is bad, even the company is not updating the system, not providing any job aid, so that is not going to solve the performance issue, right? The next topic is about the communication gap. Not every performance problem is the learning problem. Sometimes it is about communicating. Unclear direction. If the team management has given unclear direction, uh, haven't explained about that, itself not sure about their product and features. Poor articulation, poor communication can be mixed signal. The person giving direction doesn't know where they want to go. They don't about their product itself. So how they were going to communicate to the teacher? Poor articulation. They know the destination but can't communicate effectively. As a sales representative, I know that I have to perform my job. I have to do a certain task. I have to do certain tasks. And the another reason can be a poor articulation. They know the destination but can't communicate. And next point is that mixed signal. Says one thing but doesn't support it or rely it at something else. So that is a communication gap. Sometimes we know we have the expertise, we have the features, but the only thing uh, which is a barrier is the communication gap. So let's start the. So these are all about the five gap. So first is knowledge, skill, motivation, environment, and communication. If we have to, let's say we have identified these issues and we have to fulfill these gaps. So how to go about, right? If the if there is a no, as an instructional designer, we know that it something which can enhance our instructional design is skill is asking the right question at the right time while creating the content. So if there is a knowledge gap, you should write what information does learner need, just what need. If that information is important, critical, provide that, else remove that. When will they need, when they will need, while calling, while job, on the job, that's it. If this is a skill gap, so we need to identify what needs practice, what kind of practice we should make, and where the practice opportunity, how we can provide the many kind of sessions of practice thing. If it is about the motivation, what is their attitude to change, why they are not performing, what was the reason, what are the reasons, and will they resist change courses. Okay. And it can be about environment. If the gap is about the environment, what is the environmental blocks and what support are needed. And if it is a communication gap, are goals clearly communicated or not, is leadership aligned, like from a communication may not, here from a communication I doesn't mean that is about the talking English speaking skill. That is not communication here. In this case, communication refer to how the information is presented, or whatever the thing management like has provided information to the learner for the task. So it is time for the Q&A. So what do they actually need to do with this? We have to ask certain these kind of question. You can note it down. And will this require change, like you can read question. Let's see. We have covered the scenarios. You can take a screenshot here, marina scenario. So let's take an example that here the situation. Marcus teaches a 2-day database design workshop. There is a trainer, Marcus, who teach 2-day database gap training for new technology. First attempt was too basic. He covered the general design principle, like day one kind of instructional led training we are talking about. And but students were experienced designer who need the new tech specific. So here is the case that as a learner are proficient enough. They know all the informations, right? They are kind of at the upper intermediate level, but the trainer who didn't learned about how the learner performance gap, and he just taught about the basic of design, which they are already familiar. Student now here, the student complained about functionality and wanted deeper explanation. So this is basically a knowledge gap, a new about the new system, knowledge gap, new system is specified. It is not about the skill gap. It is not about the motivation. It is not about the, and even the audience analysis was off. We haven't, in this case, Marcus fails to analyze the learner, their current level, and they just taught randomly. Okay, if you taught randomly, they will now. Multiple gaps demand a multi-strategy approach: information, practice, relevance, environmental support. That is, it is important that we need combination of multiple things. Uh, so that's all about today's session. We have covered what is the performance gap, kind of gaps, how to fulfill those gaps. We see some examples. Now it is time about the key takeaways. So first key takeaway is simple, that knowing is not equal to doing. If you want someone to do, just providing the perform some job. Just providing an information won't help any much. And we learned about the five types of gap that are these include knowledge gap, skill, motivation, environment, communication. And we if you are diagnosing, consider all the factors. Practice makes skill. If you want to like someone to do something related kind of skill thing, so practice matters. Like if you want to make a change, you can't just provide one explanation video and that will bring a change. For a change, it is important to it is change is a process. It takes time, it takes practice. uh, Sometimes for environmental and communication things, fix the system and define before design. A well-defined problem lead to well-designed solution. So this is about the chapter one, Julie Dirksen, how the people learn. We will covering the more 9 or 10 chapters in the coming session. Thanks for watching this.